Hello and welcome. I'm Lisa Almo, Community Relations Representative here at the Lakeshore. Before we start today's presentation, I would like to share a little bit about our beautiful community. Many of you have visited the Lakeshore previously, but for those of you who are less familiar, I would like to share with you that we are a premier retirement community that sits on the south shore of beautiful Lake Washington. We have 156 senior apartment homes offering a variety of studio, one bedroom, and two bedroom floor plan options. Our living communities, including the Lakeshore, operate under what is known as a flex license with the state of Washington. That means that any resident, independent, or one who may need assisted living services may live in any of our beautiful 156 apartments. Approximately 70% of our residents live independently, and the other 30% utilize our assisted living services. Should you come in as an independent living resident and down the road need some assistance, the beautiful thing is that the flex license allows you to stay in your apartment. There's no need to relocate to a different apartment or other wing of our community. Right now, we are moving new residents into the community, and we are able to do full community tours via FaceTime, Zoom, or other virtual ways, or as well as in person. If you're interested in learning more about the Lakeshore, or if you're interested in a tour or making a reservation, please feel free to contact Stephanie or Alicia or myself in the Community Relations Office. And now on to our main event. I'm delighted to introduce Leeta Scott, who's joined us today to present the topic, Avoiding Scams and Fraud, brought to you by the Lakeshore. Leeta received her degree in social work from Indiana University. With over 20 years of nonprofit experience, Leeta currently manages the AARP FraudWatch Helpline, which provides peer-to-peer counseling for victims of fraud or scams. Welcome, Leeta. I will now turn things over to you. Take it away.
Thank you so much. I am honored that you invited me to join you to talk with you today. And I'm happy to get some more information to anybody about scams and frauds. I have been with the AARP Helpline for roughly 7 years, and I have a great passion about fraud prevention. Since I work on the fraud helpline, I've talked with so many people over the years who've lost money to scammers, and it can be devastating and life-changing for many people. And while it might seem like they're just targeting only older citizens and adults, they are actually targeting anyone who they think that will provide them with some personal information, such as a bank account number, social security number, and just a way to get money from people. Many young people who have grown up with technology often trust it too much, so they too become victims. Everybody's at risk for becoming a victim of a scam. So I just want to make that very clear that really all of us are at risk. Scams have been increasing every year for quite some time, but since the pandemic, they've actually skyrocketed. That's because many more of us are available. We're at home and available to answer the phone, or we're on our computers. We're not out and about as much as we were, prior to the pandemic. So scammers have, they're basically taking advantage of this. And so they are targeting all of us, to try to get money and ways to get more money from us. So I'd like to share some ways that I can assist in determining whether something might be a scam. It can be difficult to tell what's real sometimes. You'll get a phone call or you'll get an email, and frequently, they're very good at what they do, as awful as that is to say. But there are some things that you can do, some red flags, that I can bring to your attention, that should help you try to determine whether something's actually a scam. I'm going to see if I can share. I need to look at my desktop here. Shoot. All right, I don't have it. I can't believe this. I don't have this available on my, I thought I had saved it already. I'm going to go ahead and give you a discussion about this and then try to bring up the document later. You guys are going to get copies of the document, but I just really want to give you some basic information about how you can determine whether something is a scam. First off, there's about 5 things that you should focus on. How were you contacted? Is it by phone, email, text? There's various ways that scammers do that. Who did they say they were? These are things that they're pretending to be somebody else. What did they ask for? Are they asking you for money or personal information? Those are red flags. And were they demanding money immediately? That's also something that it should just also be a red flag that something's not right here. They're asking for something, and I bet this person is on the other end of the phone. And how were they asking that money to be sent? Those are all of these things are things that we want to consider when we're kind of confused about, whether something might be something from a scammer. So let's parse these out a bit and talk about who they pretend to be, what they ask for, and how they want money or information. First of all, the ways that scammers contact you are generally by phone. That is the most popular way that they get in touch with you. It's tricky because with a phone, a lot of you might have caller ID on your phone. My rule of thumb is if you don't recognize the number, it's coming from out of state. It's just not a number that you recognize. Let it go to your voicemail. Generally speaking, scammers don't leave voicemail. Sometimes they do, but generally not. But the phone is really a dangerous thing these days because that's what they're primarily targeting older adults with. We're all isolated in this pandemic, and we want to talk to people, but the phone is not our friend, unless it's somebody that we really know. Other ways that scammers contact you are by email, text. In more rural areas, it's actually door to door in some cases, or by mail. So all of these are ways, that they use to get in touch with you. Who did they say they were? So scammers pretend to be many people. They pretend to be law enforcement, the police. They pretend to be the FBI, Homeland Security, Medicare, IRS, and Social Security. Anytime somebody says they're from one of these government agencies, they generally always contact you by letter, by mail, certified sometimes. Generally speaking, there isn't a phone book somewhere with all of our phone numbers in it, that government agencies would use to contact you. So it's really important to remember that unless you've contacted the Social Security office and left a number for them to contact you, they don't have that written down somewhere to get in touch with you. Also, other things that scammers pretend to be are computer texts. You might get a phone call or a pop-up on your computer that something's wrong with your computer. So they're pretending to be somebody who's actually going to help you with your computer when in fact they're there to try to get money from you or get access to your computer. They also pretend to be companies, Amazon, the cable company, banks. These are things that can be very tricky sometimes to know. whether is it really Amazon? Is it, is it truly the cable company? I don't know. I'm going to give you some ideas about how to do some due diligence and research so that you know. They also pretend to be a family member in an emergency. Actually, one of your staff here, Tina Hall, has told me about an incident where she was, where her in-laws, were actually, contacted with what's called a grandparent scam. So like I said, it can happen to any of us. And maybe Tina would want to share that, after we've gone through some of this information, how that happened. So also they pretend to be sweepstakes givers, grants, those types of things. There's no money out there available. There's no secret pile of money that we're entitled to as a grant, and scammers are often tricking people into thinking that there is, this way to get a free grant, or that they've won a sweepstakes. And if you think about it, you have to enter a sweepstakes in order to be a winner. And a lot of times, you haven't entered any sweepstakes. They're just trying to lure you into giving them some information or to prepay on taxes that don't exist. They also pretend to be from the military. If you're an online dater, they very often use the military, they're doctors, they're out of the country. And darn, they can't quite get to see you. They can't come in and meet you and visit with you, but they also need some help, with you need to send them some money for something. It might be an operation for one of their kids, or they had an unfortunate automobile accident, any number of things. But these are people they pretend to be. And so these are imposters at their best, or worst, rather. Finally, sometimes another thing that we're getting a lot of on the helpline is they're pretending to be a legitimate employer. You have to be careful nowadays who you are talking to online in regards to a job, because that's a great way for them to get information from you, personal information, social security numbers, addresses, birth dates, all the things that they can use to have identity theft. So again, we're talking about how you were contacted, who they said they were, what are they asking for from you? They're asking for money. They're asking for gift cards. They might ask you to make a payment through what's called a P2P, which is payment to another person out of your bank account. They might ask for credit card information. If you hear the word Bitcoin, run for the hills. That's an electronic currency that isn't actually regulated. And generally scammers like to use that because it can't be traced. And once the money's gone, the money's gone. They might ask, instead of for money, they might ask for that personal information. They might ask for a bank account, your social security number, Medicare number, and your birth date. And all of these things are things that you should protect dearly. And that's because they can be used, for identity theft or medical ID theft. So those are things that they're going to ask for. So going to the next thing, they're going to demand, how are they going to ask for payment from you? They might keep you on the phone while you're getting money, while you're purchasing a gift card. They do this frequently because they know that sometimes the clerk, where you're purchasing the gift card, they might ask, why are you buying, $2,000 or $3,000 worth of Target gift cards? That seems a little suspicious. And the scammer will actually coach the victim as to what to say, or to basically lie back so that they can get that money. They might tell you that this is a secret, that you shouldn't tell anybody about having to get this money. This is a secret between you and them. That's always a bad sign. I mean, generally speaking, nothing good happens in secret. And they might assure you as well that they will pay you back. And believe me, that doesn't happen. That happens a lot in a romance scam where somebody is just saying, I just need you to send me a little money. I'm more than happy to pay you back. And generally in romance scams, somebody is feeling like they really care about this particular person. Scammers are really good at nurturing that relationship so that they think that somebody is in fact in love with them. So they'll tell them all kinds of things in order to get some money, and get that thing that they're going to get this money back. So they're going to demand a payment immediately from you, and that is always a sign of a scam. How is that money sent? That can be a variety of ways, and some of them are amazingly unusual. So we have heard of people asking, the scammers asking for people to mail the payment to them in cash, enclosed in a magazine through FedEx. So that is odd. You know, when would you make a payment like that to anybody, really? There wouldn't be, it just sounds crazy. But, you know, when you're being scammed by somebody, there's a level of, you're frightened, you're responding to what seems to be something very important and crucial. And so your reasoning can be kind of affected by this. And that's what they're banking on, actually. So how are you sending this money is something that you also want to consider. They'll ask you for wire transfers or bank transfers. They're also going to ask for the information to be given over the phone for gift cards. Scammers like to use gift cards now for payment because once you read the back of the card, the numbers that are on the back, the scammers have access to that money. There is a way that they get money. I don't know if you've heard of the dark web. It's basically where criminals generate contacts and ways to get money. It's obviously not a good thing. But it's where they can trade these gift cards for actual money. And so that's why they use them. Gift cards they're a good thing if they're used for gifts, but not for payment of anything. And so if anybody asks you to pay for something with a gift card, that's a red flag. They a lot of times ask for access to bank accounts. And that way, to refund money or to trick you into giving that information so they can get access to it. I don't know if anybody has heard, these are relatively new on the banking scene, but there's payment apps called they're Zelle, Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, and Bitcoin. All of these are they could be useful tools if they're used legitimately. Basically, these are supposed to be used only with people that you know. Say that you have a family member, that they picked up, $50 of groceries or something for you, and you want to give that payment back to them. If you can link your bank you can make a payment to them. And it was intended as something that could be used, kind of with friends and family as a quick way to get some money, get the cash to them. But it's, obviously scammers being scammers, have figured out ways to make this dangerous, because honestly, once you've made a payment to a scammer through these apps, there's no way to get that back. It's already in their, it's in their hands, and the money's gone. Banks are not doing a very good job. They're not working with law enforcement or private citizens very much to help people get that money back. So at this point, prevention is really the key. So I also kind of want to go over some brief things, just in terms of, things to be aware of. Anytime somebody's demanding money from you aggressively and to get it quickly, that's a really bad sign of a scam. It's obviously there to frighten you, but it also is there to get you to respond and react, by the fact that you're frightened. You have to also know that if you're using Facebook, which can be a really great tool to stay in touch with people, Facebook is used frequently by scammers. A lot of times they hack into people's accounts, and they'll get their contacts and send messages to them, like, hey, I got this great grant. Would you probably could qualify for it, and you can get $9,000, just like that. And people believe it's actually their friend, and so they'll respond and provide personal information or possibly send some money. One of the scams that we've had quite frequently lately is that if you pay more money, you're entitled to more grant money. And so that one has been very successful with the scammers, because people think, well, if I pay more, if I pay 500, I can get 2,000 more. Why not? Or whatever. So Facebook, while it can be a good tool, for staying in touch with friends and family, it can also be dangerous. So you have to be careful and make sure that you're really talking with a family member or an acquaintance, a good friend. Texts are the same way. I don't, if you're using a phone, a smartphone, and you're getting text, you always want to be careful about responding and providing information from a text, because sometimes those disappear on my phone. I get them frequently, and I just delete them. I don't respond because I don't know who they're from. And a lot of them are from those fake companies that we say, that I was talking about earlier. Some other things I'd like to mention, just real briefly. You can always, if you're contacted and you're not sure about somebody, you can also, contact us at the helpline. We hear these scams frequently. I'll give you the number at the end of the presentation so that you can have that available. I'm sorry I don't have those documents up, but there was actually a typo on one of them. I'd like to get you documents. I'll definitely get you a copy of the documents of what I've talked about today, so that you have that. There's also typical scams that we deal with, on the helpline. Technology has, created a lot of problems, for all of us. It's, even just doing this presentation today, it's not as great as interacting with you in person, but it's what we have, to stay in touch with each other. So, a pop-up on the computer where there's a siren, or it's telling you that it kind of freezes up your computer. One of the things that you can do, just a quick tip, is you can just shut your computer down completely and see if that gets rid of the pop-up. A lot of times it does. Sometimes it might require an actual real technician to look at your computer to get it fixed. If that's the case, don't look for help online. You should really take it to a brick and mortar store to have somebody work on it. I can't really recommend stores, but There are stores that sell, computers that also work on them, and I would suggest doing that. If you get the Amazon scam, which Tina Hall also experienced, I will call on her again, maybe to share that. That's a big one that we're experiencing on the helpline. And the thing to do when you get either a phone call or an email about your Amazon account is to just go to your Amazon account. They will tell you, well, it's not showing up yet, and you need to provide your bank account in order for them to put a refund in. I mean, it's crazy, and it gets confusing, and it's very effective at confusing people, to provide them with that information. So you want to be careful. One of the things that you can do if you get an email that's supposedly from Amazon or from anybody is hover your mouse over that sender's address. And Amazon would be Amazon.com. It wouldn't be anything other than that. And they wouldn't be able to have that be the return address. It would have to be from an account that they set up. So that's one of the ways you can check to see whether it truly is Amazon. But also go to your account just to make sure, go to the true source, to see, whether that's in fact. Same thing with your bank. If you get a call or an email, in regards to your bank account, hang up or go get a bank account, go get a statement, something that's generated from the real bank, and contact them that way rather than responding. Because once you respond, to an email like that, they can get personal information, and you become more of a target. So be very careful, in that regard. So one of the things that I, when we had talked earlier, when I had pointed out that Tina Hall had also has had experience with that grandparent scam. If you ever get a call about a family member that's an emergency where there's a need for, some immediate money, by all means, contact your family to make sure that they're safe before you make some kind of payment. Since you're up on the screen, why don't you share with us those two scams that you experienced, if you don't mind?
Yeah, sure. With the grandparent scam, this was a few years ago. I was actually out of town visiting my mom, and my son was probably 16 or 17, I think. And I got a frantic phone call from my father-in-law telling me he was on his way down to Seattle because he was going to go get Aiden and get him out of jail. And I'm like, whoa, wait. And he said he'd been trying to get a hold of me and that Aiden had called and said that he was in jail and he needed Grandpa to go buy these gift cards to pay for an attorney to help him get out or bail or something like that. It was some ridiculous claim. And apparently these scammers were so convincing that my father-in-law actually went out and bought $2,000 in gift cards, but he didn't send them yet. He got a hold of me before he was able to give them. And I just immediately, I knew what was going on. I'm like, no, you don't want to do that. See if the store will take the gift cards back, trying to figure out what we could do, but don't give money. And Aiden's not in jail, well, he sounded like he had a cold. I'm like, well, if you didn't recognize his voice, how well do you know your grandson? Would he be calling you from jail, or would he call his parents if something really happened? So, I think that the caller scared him so much that he didn't take a beat to think about, okay, how plausible is this scenario, first of all? And then second of all, why would I need to get gift cards to get my grandson out of this situation? But it was really close. It was really scary for them. Luckily, we caught it just in time.
And thankfully they contacted you. That's another thing too, is if you're not sure about something, whether it's real, you can contact our helpline. And, let me give you that number. I'm going to do it at the end of this presentation as well. But our helpline number is 877-908-3360. And as I said, I will get you the documents that we created around this presentation so that you can have that at your fingertips. But also, it's like what happened with Tina, contact a family member or a friend who you think, can kind of help you, sort through this to see, whether everything adds up. Generally speaking, if somebody's asking you for money, like in an emergency like that, that alone is a red flag. And gift cards, scammers love for you to purchase gift cards. So I was glad to hear, that that worked out as well as it did. Do you want to also talk about your experience with Amazon?
Actually, this one was probably even scarier because it was a phone call, and it was a phone call that sounded so completely legitimate to me that it said, "This is Amazon. We're calling to alert you about possible fraudulent activity on your Amazon account. Push this number to talk to a representative." So I thought, oh, okay, this must be real. And I said, "This is me. What's going on?" And they said, "Oh, well, we wanted to alert you to the fact that someone that you had attempted to purchase $1,000 phone. I think it was an iPhone. And since that seemed out of character, we thought we should find out if this is legitimate." I'm like, wait, no, this isn't legitimate. And I got into my Amazon account and I'm looking at it and I said, "Well, I'm not seeing that purchase." "Well, it's because we didn't allow it to go through without contacting you first." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, what do I need to do?" "Okay, well, you go to this website and we can reset your security. We can reset your security settings." And I'm thinking, well, that's odd. Can't I just do that from my Amazon account? And I asked it, I said, "Well, I'm in my Amazon account. What do I need to do to reset my security systems?" "Oh, well, you can't do it from there. Go to this other website." And I went to this website and she said, "And then click this button and that'll allow us to get into your computer and fix your settings for you." And at that point, I was like, wait a minute. You want to get into my computer and fix my settings? That doesn't make any sense to me. No. And I hung up. But the professionalism that this person projected really had me believing this was legitimate. And oh my gosh, I had been, my Amazon account had been hacked somehow and somebody had made this huge purchase and I needed to fix it right away. So it definitely created a sense of panic. And of course, I just wanted to get in there and do the responsible thing. But as soon as I realized that they were actually asking me for full access to my laptop, remote access, that was okay. Now I know this is fake, and I hung up. But it was scary to think that it seemed so convincing, even though it was totally a scam. Totally a scam.
And that's what I'm saying. They try these techniques to get you. They raise your anxiety level. We refer to it as being under the ether, which means you're heightened. You have a heightened response. You're nervous. You're anxious. You're frightened. All of those things play into why they're so successful at getting money. And it's very stressful. And a lot of times, we've actually heard victims say, I did this because I just wanted to make this go away and make them stop talking to me. And they can bully. They can be very aggressive and bully you, and actually get angry at you, if you're not sending the money, which is really a bad sign. But, sometimes, people just feel so pressured that they do it just to get relief. So thank you so much for sharing that, because I think it just really points to, how this can happen really to anyone and everyone. Even on my work phone, I receive, scam calls all the time. And some of the ones I'd like to share with you, these are more localized. We have some that are kind of all over the country that any of us could get, but some localized ones would be car warranties. I've been getting those like mad lately. And, I have like a 5-year-old car, so I don't have a warranty. I know that's not real. That's a scam. We've heard that Puget Sound Energy has been targeted as people having outstanding bills that need to be paid immediately. Always go to the source. Like I said, I knew I didn't have a car warranty, so that wasn't so much an issue. I'm not on Puget Sound Energy, but those who are should definitely call Puget Sound Energy if they think there's a problem. BECU, a lot of banks, there's a lot of scammers using banks as their fake identification. And so I actually am a member of BECU, but I know for a fact that my account is fine. I can check it online. Some other scams that we're handling on our helpline. Social Security has been one of the biggest scams that we've had for a couple years now. I think it's very successful with scammers because Social Security is so many people's lifeline. It's something that people really need, and if that's threatened or it feels like something's wrong, it really frightens people. So what happens is they're usually getting their Social Security number and a birth date. They're quote unquote verifying their Social Security number when in fact, they're the people who administer it. So it doesn't make sense, that they would ask to verify it. So a lot of people do, and know that Social Security, again, as like Medicare, they're going to contact you by mail unless you've called them and there's a promise that they'll call back. And I don't even know that they're doing that these days. They're still not open yet during the pandemic. So you may be able to get, a call, but it would have to be because you generated that and you provided your phone number. As I said earlier, those fake Amazon emails or calls are really big right now. It's a little frustrating because we haven't felt like Amazon has been very proactive in warning people that, they are being used in scams, and there's no warnings or anything that I've noticed on their website recently, but do be aware that, a lot of people are involved in scams and they don't even have an Amazon account, but they think that somebody's created one for them. So that's another type of call that we're getting frequently on the helpline. There are a lot of people who are trying to meet people online, on dating sites, and dating sites are rife right now with scammers because people are looking to have someone to be involved with. So you have to be careful, on dating sites. Be very careful about sharing pictures or personal information with somebody that you've never met. A lot of times they will use these pictures in a way that's inappropriate, or get them outside of where you're comfortable having them. And so just be really careful about what you share. If somebody immediately wants to have private conversations with you off the dating website, be cautious about that. That's how it usually starts. In a romance scam, and especially if they start asking you for some help monetarily pretty quickly. We are also seeing a lot of pet scams, particularly puppies. Everybody wants lots of animals right now have gotten adopted, because of the pandemic, which I suppose is really good. But it also has a dark side to it in that there's a lot of fake websites for getting a pet. So we just recommend, if you're interested in getting a puppy or a pet, try to do that through the local shelter or a local breeder where you can physically see the pet, because I can't imagine bringing a pet into my life without first, meeting it. Some people, maybe that isn't quite as important, but there are a lot of people out there making quite a bit of money off of people, posing as legitimate, breeders and places, where you can acquire a new pet. Facebook and Messenger, I think we've talked about this a little bit earlier, where, it can be great to interact with friends and family. Purchasing items from Facebook Messenger and Marketplace can often be scams, especially if the price just seems like too good to be true, and it's something that you've looked for, and oh my gosh, here it is at this great price. Be very skeptical about that, because a lot of times there is no product. We have people call us all the time they're very disappointed because they've just, they've used a gift card, or they've made payment through a payment app, and they're not going to get the money back, and they're not going to get the product. So that's very disappointing when that happens. And another thing is to remember is when somebody's asking you to use Bitcoin to purchase things, that's generally almost always a red flag for a scam. So I've noticed that you can make purchases now of Bitcoin at some of the Safeway stores, at some of the Coin Stars. You can actually buy this stuff, and I think people just need to be aware that it can be very tricky, and scammers like to use this as a way to get money from folks. So for now, I think that's pretty much what I wanted to cover. I feel like there's, I can't emphasize enough how important it is to, kind of carefully, watch correspondence that you get by those phone calls, texts, emails, those types of things. It's very easy to pretend to be somebody that you're not. Scammers are taking advantage of all of these things, and it's, as I said, it's hard to sometimes tell what's real, but if you can kind of go back to what we've talked about, slow things down. Try not to respond immediately if you're not sure, without touching base with somebody. If they're demanding money quickly and aggressively, that's a good sign right there that you should probably either hang up or stop engaging. I do have people tell me frequently that they like to mess with scammers and talk with them on the phone and maybe get them angry. And I don't really recommend doing that. The best thing is to not engage, because if you do talk with them, they'll share your information with their fellow scammers, because they say you'll talk with them, and so you're a potential client. And so the best thing to do is to not engage, and that'll help you stay safer and get less of those scam calls. So I hope that you have found this helpful. As I said, we'll get those documents to you so that you can have them at your fingertips. I'm happy to give you our phone number, once more, if you'd like to have that, available. So the FraudWatch Helpline phone number is 877-908-3360. And we're operating Monday through Friday, and we try to get back to you as soon as we can. It's always within 24 hours. And so keep that number handy, and we'll be getting you some documents. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Go ahead and unmute yourself if you have any questions for Leeta. Anybody?
Leeta, I have a question for you. In receiving an email that you're unsure of, are you at risk for just opening it or just pressing the link that's closed?
You, generally speaking, I think if you're clicking on links is where you get into trouble. And if you can, I mean, you can open it and then you can scroll, put your mouse over that return address. A lot of times that'll give you information as to whether that's from a real, company or where it's coming from.
Oh, thank you. So usually unopening it isn't a big risk. Thank you.
Yeah. And, that's where you can kind of do the test, to see where it's coming from. But don't click on anything within the email. That's where it gets really dangerous.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Leeta, somebody would like if you could repeat that contact phone number again, please.
Oh, absolutely. I'm happy to do that. And like I said, I'm also going to get you copies of the document. So the helpline number is 877-908-3360.
Any other questions? Anybody? Okay, well, if we don't have any more questions, I want to thank you, Leeta, for an incredibly wise and informative presentation today. Thank you so much for taking the time to share all this with us and protecting us. We really appreciate it so much.
You are welcome. You're so welcome. I really encourage you, like I said, if you have questions, give us a call. We get back with you as soon as we can. And I just can't, I just want everybody to be safe. Like I said, we're all at risk.
Yeah, thank you. So we will be emailing everybody an evaluation form, and we would love to hear your feedback on this presentation, as well as any suggestions that you may have for future Zoom presentations. We're always looking for new ideas and what people are interested in hearing. If you have any questions about the Lakeshore, if you'd like to schedule a tour, we'd love to welcome you and show you around our beautiful community. You can get a hold of the community relations team at 206-772-1200. So I'm Lisa Almo. This concludes today's presentation. On behalf of the community relations team, Stephanie, Lexi, Alicia, and myself, I want to thank you all for taking the time to join us today. And we hope to see you again in future events and in person too soon. So thank you so much, and everybody have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you. Thank you for turning on your video, some people. It was nice to see you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, Albert.
Bye.